John, I thought I heard you say the other day at the pro day that maybe Jared's foot injury wasn't quite as bad as you originally thought. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
We don't know, and what the they're gonna reevaluate here in another week or so, and then to figure out where it goes. It would be an unbelievable blessing for him or us if he were able to start coming back to play. But, you let the doctors and the experts deal with that, and they wanted to look at it a little bit more before they made a decision and let him feel it, see what he felt like.
John, what's your reaction to the whole FBI investigation of college basketball? How much of a pale do you think that puts on the whole thing?
Well, obviously what's out there right now is a black eye, but here's the thing for everybody here. I don't want to come across as uneducated or dumb when none of us know where this thing's going. So for me to really comment much on it, I mean, I don't know where all this is going. It's obviously what's happened to this point isn't good, but at this point, I don't think me commenting without knowing all the facts is the right thing to do.
Raise your hand if you got a question, folks.
It's what happens when you're so far in the back of the room.
John, how do you react to Mark Emmert's statements yesterday, and do you think the culture of college basketball is so hopelessly corrupt that something has to change?
I read the statement. I kind of liked it because in a point in there, he mentioned about the students, that at the end of the day, this is about the student athletes. And I would say, again, this isn't the format for me to go full boat in this, but I would say if we make decisions about these kids and what's right for these kids, we're going to be right. If the NBA is worried about the NBA, if the NCAA is worried about the NCAA, if each individual institution is just worried about themselves, and the last thing we think about are these kids, we're going to make wrong decisions. I would say, Tim, let's be fair with the kids. Now, you'll say, well, what do you mean by be fair with the kids? So I'll ask that question that you were about to ask me as you smiled, okay? Being fair doesn't mean you treat every kid the same. When I coach my basketball team, I try to keep it real and I try to be fair. That doesn't mean every kid's treated the same way, because one player may never have done anything wrong and one has tripped up 3 or 4 times. I'm going to deal with those kids differently. Every player is treated fairly as though they're a starter, but I just come back to that. There are a lot of players of different levels, of different abilities. Let's be fair with them. And how we're being fair, I'll leave that up to the powers that be. But again, with all this stuff, there's a commission out there now. Smarter people than I am on that commission. There's still stuff going on. For me to spend my time today on all this stuff, I just don't want to do that. I'd rather, let's talk about this team. There's going to be a time where I'll say, here's some things I think we need to do. It'll probably be on CoachCal.com where you can read it. What happened? But now isn't that time.
Cal, since you want to talk about this team only, should this team over here to your right? Get your sneakers on.
This is like the Skype machine behind me.
Should your players, since we're talking about this team, your players and every other player across the country, should they now start getting paid to fix this mess?
This is like him chasing me down the hallway and slipping by the door. Again, there is so much stuff. Treating kids fairly. I have some ideas, but I just don't think it's the time for me to talk about that stuff. And folks, you all know me. You know where I'm tilted to. You probably could say this is how he feels and be right without me saying it. But I think we all should come together here and again, be fair. Being fair with this kid, like we have kids that are insured. You do know that, right? For disability. But not every player can get that insurance. They're not all eligible. Well, that's not fair. This is America. So you be fair with every one of these kids. Be about them. I'm not saying don't protect the game. This is how I make a living. I'm not saying don't protect our university. I'm not saying that. But the first decision should be, all right, what's right for these kids and how do we deal with that? If we do that, and we all come together with that, being fair, doesn't mean you treat every kid the same. They finally did away with this level playing field. You remember that one? We have 350 schools. There's no level playing field. That's just words. But let's be fair in that, and I think we'll move in a direction because I would say this, we've had the highest graduation rate in NCAA basketball history of African American basketball players. They raised the standards on all these kids' academic entrance, and I wasn't for it. I said, you're affecting one group, and you know who that is, and it's not fair. Well, that group chased that and reached it, and they're doing so much better in school than they've ever done in the history of our sport. And I don't think you blow up a system for 10 players, 20 players. I just don't believe you blow up a system. You figure out how you make this work. There are things out of our control. The NBA and the Players Association would have to come up with it. It's not in our control. They have to do that. But if they choose not to do it, how do you be fair with the players? How do you do that? How do we make this so that every player that's here is treated fairly? It doesn't mean they're all treated the same, but they're treated fairly.
There's a decent chance, Cal, that next week Rick Pitino won't be the coach at Louisville. Will you miss the rivalry and coaching against him?
Look, it's unfortunate, all the stuff that's come down, but let's talk about my team, please. Does anyone here have a question about my team? Please.
John, one more question about the FBI.
Anybody have a question?
No, wait a minute. This is a media day, not coach day. I am entitled to ask a question.
Ask
you
it.
can then
Okay.
not answer,
Ask
fine.
it.
The FBI reportedly has expanded into looking at Nike. Kentucky is a Nike school. What reassurance would you give your fan base, the Big Blue Nation, if they're anxious about what this could mean?
Well, again, you're acting like you know something that I don't know.
That's all I know is right there.
That,
If a fan would put two and two together, it's not.
wait a minute, we don't know what you're saying if it's true. Do we know if it's true?
It's been reported.
Well, that makes it true. I have no comment to it. I mean, there's no one, we haven't been contacted, the NCAA hasn't contacted us. We're going about our business of coaching this team. How about a basketball question, since it isn't my day?
John, I'll ask you about this team and defensively, how you think they're going to be shaping up. Last year, you said that your team was going to be one of the top defensive teams, and yet it took them a little while to kind of come together. What makes us think that this team is going to be different defensively?
I'm a little bit worried because we're so far behind in all their habits. Defense is about having great habits individually and then collectively having habits. When things happen, we react a certain way. We're not there yet. We're just so far from that. We've had, I think, 6 practices. We've had to have a couple days off because of injuries, because we would have been practicing with 6 players. So everybody talks about this being a great shot blocking team. Maybe, could be. We're not in shape right now. We're not in the kind of condition we need to be. We just for the first day started talking zone defense so we could work on zone offense yesterday, excuse me. We haven't talked about press yet, haven't done anything with the press. We haven't talked about guarding out of bounds. We've done a little bit pick and roll defense. We're not, the screening and all the things we have to do, we will be ugly early. It's just how it's going to be. And we could be a good defensive team. And if we're going to be a good team, it'll start with that. That'll be the first thing.
John, I was going to ask you if you'd started scouting Center College yet, but I guess we'll postpone that a little bit. But talk about how many guys do you think can play point guard for you this year if needed?
I would say 2 to 3. Quade and Shea right now are competing. It's a great battle. I'm starting one, and then I'll flip them and start the other. And I say start, I'll put them with different groups to watch them. Hami could play it in a pinch. We're a good enough handling team that you could play basically without a point guard. But our teams have been centered on having guys out there that can really control the game somewhat. So I would say 2. And they can play together, by the way, because Shea's big.
Hey, Coach. Do you think Jared's injury is going to raise the pressure on winning this year to perform a little bit more than last year? And if, along with him, do you think Washington sees any minutes at the small ball 5?
Well, the first thing is I'm concerned with Jared and his health. I told him, you're going to be fine, but this hurts us. You'll get through this, but it's going to affect us. It affects us 2 different ways. One, if we were to press or play a small lineup, it would have been with him in there. Second thing is, if we were going against zone offense, the first thing you do is put him in the middle of the zone because of how he plays, passes, drives, and his ability to make plays. So that changes us. Now we're trying to figure out how much do we press and how do we press. We're trying to figure out who do we attack in the middle of the zone, which has been one of our ways of really playing. And last year it was, Isaiah Briscoe is who we put in there a bunch. So it could be a guard, could be a big. But we got a lot of questions to answer, which is why, days matter for us. We're trying to figure out if guys are hurt, what do we do? How do we play? What do we try to accomplish in that short period of time?
Cal, with so many freshmen that you have and just a few sophomores to kind of lead them, I mean, with no real senior guys this year, how do you tell your veterans, so to speak, to really step up their games and make them realize they have to be more leaders and, just really stand out?
Well, Wenyon is way better. Part of the thing is you got to perform. People are not going to follow if you're not out there doing your job. Wenyon's way better. Sasha's way better. Ty had been way better. Now he's hurt himself, so he's been out since the combine. He has not been back. So, but those 3 have gotten way better. But the leadership can come from anybody. It doesn't have to come from veterans. I've had it different ways here. Sometimes the guys they want to follow is a guy that's really getting it done on the court, or a guy that puts himself out for his teammates. And again, that develops over time.
John, you come from pretty humble beginnings, and yet I think we can all agree that you're pretty rich now. A lot of the players that you're coaching are following that same trajectory. This idea of giving back to the community, that's a big, big part of you. Where does that come from, and why is that important for you to instill into your players here at Kentucky?
Well, first of all, I've said it before, my grandparents came through Ellis Island, did not speak English. My mother's side of the family was from Webster Springs, West Virginia. My grandparents worked in the coal mines in Clarksburg, West Virginia. My mother was a pay it forward, and that whatever opportunities you had, you made sure you passed it on to somebody else. I talked about regifting here in the past. Any regifters come from families of regifters? Didn't have enough, someone come in your house, you're looking around, you give somebody else's gift that they gave you to that person, you wrap it in the bedroom while they can't hear, and you give it. That was my mother. But when you're teaching servant leadership, which is what we're trying to do here, which if they learn that, they learn to be the best teammates because they're more worried about their teammates than themselves. When you talk to them about what their why is, what is your why? You're going to come across all this good stuff. You're going to have all this stuff, but after you start collecting, it doesn't change you. It makes you hollow. It makes you shallow. What are you doing for other people? What is your legacy going to be? And we talk about it. John Wall getting the Community Assist Award in the NBA. The runner-up was Anthony Davis. That's a big deal. Those are kids that are men who are giving back to their community, and not just financially, they're becoming involved actively. And it's not just them, whether it's DeMarcus Cousins, whether it's Eric Bledsoe from that wave of guys to the guys now from Carl Towns going back to his high school and doing stuff. I was with Pat Riley, and he said the one thing about your guys that come to this league, they're good teammates. Well, to really perform here, you got to be a good teammate. You got to be about other people. We try to show them through telethons where they can make a difference. We try to show them through different things we do to raise money to give it away to different people. And, you know, again, you're trying to, instead of say it, you're trying to do it and have them watch and say, you know what, this is what I want. But we talk about it in the recruiting process. What's your why? Bam's why, his immediate why, was his mother. You know, I got to do this because I got to take care of my mother, who was walking to work at a supermarket in Little Washington. So these kids come from all different kind of backgrounds. They have all kind of different things. Some of them better homes than others. And but if you can get these young people, like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, to think more about other people, and then that becomes what this program is about, you continue to win even when the team keeps changing. This program's not about me. This program started well before I became the coach here. This program has had 5 different coaches win national titles. That's what this program is. This program, when I took the job, I said it was going to be about players first. We're going to make sure that we're focused on their success and what they're doing. We've had 17 players graduate in the last 8 years. 3 of those graduated in 3 years. 2 of those are in the NBA, playing in the NBA. So it is more than just playing basketball here.
John, I remember you saying Shea had an old man's game. At least I remember it that way. What did you mean?
He is so long and lanky. He's gained 10 pounds, so now he's got a little bit of a, he'll try to bully you a little bit, which he never did before. But he has step-throughs, he has flip shots, he has an ability to get the ball to the basket. And my thing right now is I keep telling him, you're playing a little bit too tight this way. You're not seeing outside of that range. And again, that's something with all freshmen because they've always played with the ball. So trying to get him to expand his vision is what we're trying to do. Each of the kids, I got off a plane yesterday, and before practice I said, look, I'm feeling an anxiety. I have an anxiety because here's what I'm saying. I got to get you, Quad A, to give up the ball quicker. I got to get you, Kevin Knox, to drive the ball. I got to get you, Nick, to rebound this ball with 2 hands and fly. PJ, more motor. Hami, narrow this down to 3 or 4 things. And Shea, I got to get you to get those blinders off. And I said, now, my concern for you as an individual player, I also got to build this team. You got to be concerned about you, and you are responsible for you. I'm telling you what I want you to do. Now you got to take that on and say, I'm going to do it. If you fight me, they lose. You're not winning that battle. So we can fight long or we can fight short. I'm going to ask you what you need to do for us and you. But you're responsible for you. We've got a great group. My wife said this is the best group. I said, now the other groups are all going to be mad at you. She said, I'm telling you, I just have a feel about this group, how together they are. But I'm just telling you, they're not as sure of themselves as they'll come stand there and because they're 6'11" and 6'10" and 7 foot tall, doesn't mean they're grown men, especially mentally. They're 18 and 19-year-olds. They're going to be thrown into the fire. We're going to all have to be patient. I stop every practice at some point and tell them to tell me to be patient. Coach, be patient. We're good kids. We're good players. We just don't know anything. Be patient. And then I go, because I'm ready to choke some of you right now. That's every day I have to do that. But I'm enjoying it. This is what we do here. This is what it is. Wave of kids comes in. They have no idea. I have no idea. We all grow together. We figure this out. We make decisions based for them, not the program or a system. What's right for them. And then we roll with that. And you know what? We love on them. They love on each other. The stuff usually works out.
Cal, for however long he's out, what will you miss with Jared off the floor? And I guess conversely, when he's back and able, what does he bring to the table? I know you have a lot of forwards, but he's even maybe a little different than the rest.
He is. The shot blocking team we were going to be changes with him because he may have been our best shot blocker. See, when you block shots, it's not your man that you block. Someone else is guarding a man and you block that guy's shot. That's shot blocking. Shot blocking isn't I play a guy and I block his shot. That means you left your feet, you fouled, my job is to occupy his eyes and you block his shot. And he was unbelievable at that. So that's going to hurt us. The ability to stretch the court out, both defensively and offensively, it's going to hurt us. But this gives guys an opportunity for more minutes. Maybe a Wenyan gets more minutes. Maybe a Kevin Knox gets to play multiple positions. Maybe there's more of a focus on PJ doing stuff. Maybe Nick or Sasha. Maybe Sasha gets his opportunity now. So, one guy's misery is another guy's opportunity.
John, it seems like every year you're always harping on rebounding the ball with two hands. Why don't players come in that way, and why is it so important?
I know this. Carl Towns thanked me. He said, I'm getting 3 more rebounds a game because I rebound with 2 hands. And I'm watching closely, and the guys that don't rebound as well, the ball gets away from them because they rebound with 1 hand. But it's also catching the ball with 2 hands. You're not going to reach up with 1 hand and catch it and me not notice. Again, I'm just trying to say, why would we give up 3 balls a game and have 2 more turnovers because of 1 hand, which is basically you're being mentally lazy to reach here, And sometimes, one arm is longer than the other. Not really, I guess not. But, and it's one of those, pet peeves I've always had. Everything with 2 hands. And if you walk in our practice with this team, it's the same. If they grab it with 1 hand, go again. It's a one-handed catch. If it's one-handed rebound, no good. Get on the baseline. Rebound the ball with 2 hands. I'm trying to force them to have a mental focus. Because right now, I'm just playing. You can't, there's certain things that you got to have a focus on. They become habit, then you don't have to think about them. Right now, their habit is this. I'm trying to create a new habit, that. I'm not trying to eliminate old habits. You can't. They've been doing them too long. Forget it. Keep that habit, but you're going to create a new one with 2 hands, everything. You don't have to worry about breaking old habits. Just create new ones.
No FBI this time, Cal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As you try to figure this team out, forget about that for a moment. Just physically speaking, when you're looking at these kids as athletes, just athletes, I don't care where they are in figuring stuff out, where is this team athletically today versus all the other teams you've had here just athletically?
2010 was ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't normal. So to compare them to that is not normal. I think the team in 2012 athletically was ridiculous. I mean, just not normal. They were so fast and long and strong, and, you know, those two teams probably stand out in my mind. But, again, there's a length to this team, you know, and I said this, we talked yesterday. I told them, why don't I like to play zone? Because it doesn't prepare us. You're right. And, you know, if you left here, it'd be the last time you ever played zone. Not preparing you. I said, why else? Because you're not responsible for anybody, yes. But the third thing is, what's it going to make the other team do? Play faster or play slower? Slower. So now they play slower. It means we get less possessions, we get less shots. Instead of getting 70 shots, we get 58 shots. All right, which of you in here like to give up 3 shots a game? Oh, no one? Really? So if we play zone, it's against a team that plays real fast. If a team plays zone or plays slow, you better trap and make them play faster. Or everyone here, if you want to play zone, I'm good if you're willing to give up 3-4 shots per man. Yeah, let's play man-to-man. I figured that would be the case.
Are there some guys on this team that you look at and say they thrive, or you can tell they thrive on pressure or thrive on the challenges?
Don't know yet.
Or you're presenting them the challenges?
Don't know yet. I mean, that's all. We were talking, who would we go to late in the game if we needed a shot? You know, what if we, again, if we needed a 3, where are we going? How are we getting it? I'm even telling the guys, you need to tell me if it's a game-winning shot, where would you want the ball? You tell me, and then it makes my job easier of trying to figure this out. You tell me. It's a game-winning shot. Where do you want it? You want it off a pin down? You want it on an elbow? Tell me where you'd want it. And but we got so much, you know. This is truly the, you know, I've said other years it's a work in progress, but this is like we had a really good practice yesterday, and Kevin Knox was unbelievable. He made a little bit of a breakthrough yesterday. I had hope. I took my foot off the panic button yesterday after practice. Now, I still got both hands on it, but my foot is no longer on it after yesterday's practice.
John, can you elaborate a little on the breakthrough that Kevin had, what he did, or what you saw that, you know, kind of opened it?
It was on both rebounding the ball, playing tougher. It was driving into the lane and taking hits. Normally, he would drive in, and the shot that he would take, and I'm forcing him to drive. He'd rather shoot a jumper. You're not. You're driving the ball. If the ball is inside out to you, you can shoot it. Short of that, you're driving it. So yesterday, he just got it. And that's what happens. These kids, you're asking them to do stuff they've never had to do, and he got it. And I watched, and after practice, I said, that was by far your best practice. And I said it to the team. And my hope is now he has back-to-back days that he has the same kind of day today.
Jamal was listed as day-to-day a couple of days ago. What's his status?
His knee is still bothering him. I talked to the doctor today. We're trying some different things, but it was, you know, I thought he'd be practicing by now, but if he's hurting, he shouldn't practice. So, but we do need him back. We're shorthanded, and without him, you know, it takes one player off the court, one shooter off the court, makes it hard.
John, what kind of shooting team do you think this is going to be based on what you've seen and what you had hoped?
Well, our forte is not going to be, well, that's a shooting team. But how many of my teams have been that? You know, my teams have always been, you know, downhill runners, you know, fast in the break, unselfish moving the ball, lane touches. That's what I would expect this team to be. And then shooting, some of it is going to be guys committed to really working at practicing, spending extra time shooting the ball, and there may be lineups we put in that'll shoot better than others, but that's not been, you know, our deal. I mean, that's not, you know, there are some teams that play and they get a bunch of shooters and they run back cuts and curl cuts and handoffs and shoot threes. That's not how we play. So it's the premium isn't always, you got to be able to make shots. You can't have anything mechanically wrong with your shot, but if I'm to give up something, free throw shooting, I'll give up a little bit of that as long as you have all those other intangibles that I think it takes.
You've also had some explosive shooters, though.
Yep.
In your lineup.
Yep. We have, and there's, it's kind of like comparing Quad A to Tyler Eulis, that's not fair. Comparing any of these kids to Devin Booker, not fair. To say, will they be able to hit game-winning shots like Aaron Harrison? It's not fair, we haven't done it yet, and that kid was, on the biggest of big stages, made daggers, just absolutely threw daggers. So will these guys build to that? That's the great thing about what we do here. Like, none of you know how we're going to be. Not one. Some of you guys can act like you know. Ladies, you know, you don't. You know why I know that? Because I don't know. So this is what makes this Kentucky. They're not promised starting position, minutes. We're not running every play to one guy. You're going to have to defend and rebound. I told him yesterday, at the end of the day, the best 5 defenders will probably be on the floor more than anybody else. I told him that yesterday. So now all of a sudden you're coming here, you're in a dogfight every day in practice. You start getting better like Kevin Knox did yesterday, and we go from there.
Is this the most interchangeable team you've ever had? And having so many guys that can play different positions, what does that enable you to do?
If we had Jared playing, you could play without a point guard because he could be the point guard. So we were really interchangeable, and when you step him back off, you're not quite as interchangeable because probably one of those 2 point guards are going to play, or both of them, at some points in the game. Without them, you could have played Jared, been the point forward, and played with Hami and whoever else you want out there and played that way. So here's the problem with interchangeable with this group. When you're teaching initially, it's hard enough to learn one position versus 3. Just hard. So you're almost having to start where we're not interchanging yet. You just learn this spot, and then we start moving, and as we figure guys out, we go from there.
John, we hear a lot about what you say to players on recruiting visits, but I always wonder what's the most interesting question or pushback or inquiry that a family or a player has ever had for you that impressed you maybe in their thought process?
Well, there have been families that want their child to shoot 25 times a game, and they think that's the best way for them to become a pro, and I wish them well. Because you're not going to do that here. It's not how we play. Our visits are really consistent, and they've been kind of consistent since I began coaching. I mean, so there's nothing. It's presented in the same way, and if you're not, look, there's a path you're going to go on. You can't muddy that path up because there are people that are coming behind and want to climb that same path that you're climbing to success, and where you're going, they want to take themselves and their families. Can't muddy it up. You're going to class, you're doing what you're supposed to. If you're into all this other stuff, why would you come here? Why would you do that? You have a lifetime scholarship, so you can leave after a year or 2 or 3. You have a lifetime scholarship, but if you're here to do all this other stuff, don't come here. That's not, you're here to set yourself right the rest of your life. And if you think it's only about you, you're wrong. If you're not willing to share, you can't come here. This isn't gonna, my thing is I went from the business of basketball to the business of helping families. And guess what? It's not just your family. There's gonna be 6, 7, 8 other families. And guess what? I can't let one guy screw up 6 families. I'm not gonna do that. So that's, And some families like it, and other families said, that's not for me, I want to be told this, that, and the other, and the other. Well, they don't come with us, and I'm okay with that. And the other one is that you're looking at a pen, and there's a bunch of dogs in that pen. You want to jump in there. You want to jump in there, that's what this is. This isn't just you in there pushing everybody around. You're jumping in a pen, and you got to want that. And so I'd rather undersell and over-deliver and give them less of what they want to hear, and at the end, it become more than they believed it could become. I'd rather be that.
Kyle, when you guys see a guy like Darius Miller comes through here, not successful initially in the NBA, but scraps around for a couple of years, able to get back, what effect does that have on your program, your recruiting, when maybe guys see not successful initially or a lottery pick, but able to kind of scrap around and make it back into the NBA?
Well, it's why I think the D-League has a great purpose. That guys, like not every one of our guys has been like a lottery pick. Like, you know, we offer scholarships, 70% of those kids do get drafted. 70%. But many of them, whether it be an Alex, Aaron Harrison, or I should say Andrew Harrison, they don't get drafted, yet they play their way through. Right now it's going to be Derek Willis. It might be Marcus Teague. That's what's great about that D-League. You can still play your way if you learn to grind. And if you talk to Andrew, he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him because he understood what the grind was about, what he had to do, and the mentality he had to be in. Nothing was going to be given, and no promises made. Either help us win or you're not in this league. And it's good for them. I love the fact that the Pelicans came back here and spent 3 days here. Our kids learned that the Pelicans didn't want to play and exchange baskets. They wanted you to compete or don't play. This isn't about exchanging baskets. This is about competing. Either you challenge me or get off the court. I'm not here for funsies. This isn't pick up that way. This is us trying to compete. So that stuff is all good for my players to see, for them. You know, I'm proud of the guys, of what they're doing and the different paths, and everybody's on a different path. I mean, there's no one path here. I mean, I just want to see them all succeed, which is being the best version of themselves. Your best version may not be this guy's, but you got to be able to feel good about that success. And we've had a lot of kids with a lot. John Hood was in here 2 days ago. Proud of him, what he's been able to do. Todd Lanter was in our practice yesterday. You know, they're all on different kind of paths.
Time for 3 more questions. Start with Matt.
You pioneered kind of a new way of recruiting with Derrick Rose, Wall, et cetera. Now a lot more programs and coaches are doing it. Has that changed how you approach recruiting or anything about that process now that you're not the lone one building new teams every single year?
The issue that my staff is all over me about, we don't offer many scholarships. So we're not offering 25 scholarships when we can only give 2. In a single year, we'd probably offer 7, 8 scholarships. Now, there may be kids saying they've been offered where they haven't, but I'm not going to argue, and publicly, that's fine, if whatever. But it's usually 6, 7, maybe 8 scholarships. I don't like offering young kids scholarships because the reality of it is you don't know. Every once in a while, you will know. It's so obvious. Even if he never gets better, he's going to be good enough. One of those. But what's happened is people are offering earlier and earlier, and then they're creating a narrative about us and who we want and who we don't want. In other words, a kid we may want, they're saying, well, we all offered you a scholarship as a sophomore. If they really wanted you, why aren't they offering you? And so that's a situation we're trying to deal with and trying to let parents know that it's not how many scholarships that are offered. It's, you know, when you really look at it, how is this going to play out and where do you want your son to go? I mean, for Devin Booker and Tyler Ulis, we waited. We waited and waited and waited. We got him really late. And part of it was I had to see more and I had to meet with the family. Sometimes I won't offer until they bring their son here and we look at the campus and understand what this is and look into people's eyes and say, this is not this, this is this. This isn't for everybody. I'm not saying we're the best. There's all kind of ways to achieve goals, but the way we do this is different. And it's not a notch in. I got an offer from Kentucky. What is what? I mean, it is, here's the group we're recruiting. We don't expect to get every kid, and we never do get every kid. There are kids that we want to go to other schools. I'm not mad. I'm not throwing stone. It's fine. I mean, because it's not about me. It's about those kids. And if they feel and their family feels it's better that they do something else, why would I? It's about their family. So, but as you know, we've moved it up a little bit. We've offered some juniors, which we've never done before. But those juniors, I feel confident that where they are right now, they'll be fine. But, you know, there are people offering sophomores. And it's just, I just don't want to, if I'm offering 30 scholarships, am I really offering 30 scholarships? What? Why would you say? How about I can't give them all? I can't give 30 scholarships. So if I've offered 30, I can only give 2 or 3. We can give more. We give 4, 5, or 6, but most schools are giving 1 or 2, maybe 3, maybe. And that's every other year. I just, you know, I'd rather wait and be right and don't know if it's right or not. We may be losing kids because we're doing it that way, but obviously the program's still rolling along.
Okay, I was curious about the difference between being fast and being quick. On the pro day numbers, Quad A's three-quarter court sprint didn't jump off the page at you, but yet in the AAU circuit, he led all of that in steals. Is there any correlation between the two?
Well, with what you just told me, obviously not. I would say I'm trying to get him to play faster. Play faster for him, maybe just give up the ball quicker. You know, it's not John Wall run down your neck. It may be I get it, bang, it's so quickly ahead, or if a guy's open, it's quick. That's playing fast. For him, that's what we have to have him do. And the reason is he's got finishers and lane drivers and, you know, give that thing up so we can get that ball moving. But he can shoot, and he's got a heck of a runner. And with his size, he's got a way of getting baskets in. So he's different than Shea. That's what's great about him. Shea's got a 7-foot wingspan and bothers the ball and deflects and does all that. And he is more of a, you know, the traditional point guard. But he's playing on a team and with a coach that I keep saying, you do not want to be a ball stopper. No one wants to play with the ball stopper. Get it, shoot it, drive it, or get rid of it. We don't want that ball to stop unless you're setting up offense to move to something else.
Last question.
Do you think you have a one star on this team in De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, or maybe a couple of guys that you think can become that?
Wouldn't be fair to him. If you're watching De'Aaron Fox kill it out in Sacramento, I watched Malik Monk get 20 in a game and make some ridiculous shots. Not fair to these kids. What I want them to do is, what's the best version of this team look like? What's the best version of each individual look like? That's my mindset right now. How do I get that guy to be his best and help him build his own confidence? What do I do for this team? How are we going to have to play to really have a good team? And again, I'm just being honest. I don't know yet. We're trying some different things, and I believe if we're not a great defensive team, it's hard to be a really, really good basketball team with these kind of players unless it's based on defense and rebounding, which means you're running downhill, here we come. Length, deflecting balls. Does that mean stretch the court out? Maybe not. At some point, you got to go from 20 feet in, and we're like touching tips of our fingers sideline to sideline. So maybe not. But that's all going to play out as we go.